In this video, we will study about the poetic devices used in the poem My Mother at 66 by Kamala. Let's start with the first poetic device used by the poet. The first poetic device used by the poet is simile. So what is a simile? It is the comparison of two things by using as or like. In the line, her face ashen like that of a corpse. Here the poetess compares her mother's face, ashen and pale face, to that of a corpse. In the second line, as late winter's moon, the poet compares her mother's face to a late winter's moon, as her face lost its brightness and looks dull and colorless like a winter's moon. Just as a late winter's moon looks hazy and appears to lack brightness and luster due to mist and fog, similarly, the poetess mother, who is now old, looks pale and devoid of exuberance. Her face looks dull and colorless due to old age. So these two examples are that of a simile. Next is alliteration. Now what is a alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sound in two or more neighboring words in the same sentence. For example, my mother. Here, the M sounds get repeated at the beginning of the words. Another example, felt that old familiar ache, repetition of consonant sound F. Next, all I said was see you soon, Amma. That thought are all examples of alliteration used by the poet in the poem. The next poetic device is personification. As we all know what is a personification, it's giving human characteristics to something that is not human. In the line of the poem, young trees sprinting. Here, the trees are personified as being young, appearance of a human being, to highlight and contrast the growing age of her mother. Secondly, the poet imagines the trees as figures that are running alongside the car. The trees are attributed with the quality of running swiftly. The trees seem to be running fast, full of life, just like a human being. So in the first slide, we get three poetic devices, that is simile, alliteration, personification. The fourth poetic device used by the poet is the next poetic device is metaphor. Now, what is a metaphor? A metaphor is a figure of speech that makes an implicit, implied, or hidden comparison between two things that are unrelated but which share some common characteristics. In the poem, if you see in the line, married children spilling out of their homes. Now, spilling is something that is associated with water. The word spill means fall out of a container. Here, the poet compares the married children with water and says that when the poet's car moves forward, the poet could see the children spilling out of their homes because the children are full of energy and vibrance. And they seem to be running out of their homes in an uncontrollable manner, just like a glass of water fall out of a container. The spilling quality of water and the lively, energetic, and enthusiastic children are compared so as to bring out a picture of liveliness, youth, and energy. The glass or the container is their home. So this is the metaphor. The next is tautology. Now, what is a tautology? Tautology is nothing but the repetitive use of different words or phrases that have similar meanings in the same sentence. It says the same thing twice but in a different way. For example, I saw a big, huge man. Now, here you see in the line, big and huge have the same meaning but the words are different. So big and use, they mean the same, but they come together in different words. That is tautology. Now in the poem, in the line, I looked again at her wan pale. Here in the sentence, wan and pale are two different words but had the same meaning, which is colorless. So tautology is saying the same thing twice but in a different manner in the same sentence. So that is tautology. The next one is Polycindaton. Now, what is a Polycindaton? It is a literary term which shows multiple repetition of the same conjunction in the close succession in the same sentence, most commonly "and", for artistic or rhetorical effect, when most of them could be replaced with a comma. For example, in the line, we have ships and man and money and stores. Here you see the conjunction "and" has been repeated 3 times in the same sentence, but this "and" could be replaced with a comma, but it doesn't. But in the sentence we have seen, instead of replacing with a comma, a multiple use of conjunction is used, that is "and". So in this sentence, the conjunction "and" has been repeated multiple times, 3 times, to show that each item has its own significance. Now in the same line, in the line of the poem, smiled and smiled and smiled, here we can see the "and" is used twice for the sake of emphasis the smile have. So this is Polycindaton, means using the conjunction several times when most of them could be replaced with a comma. That is Polycindaton. Now, the next poetic device used by the poet is repetition. What is a repetition? Using a same word or phrase for effect 2 or 3 times in a written work to allow a writer to lay emphasis on things they choose as significant. Now in the line, smile and smile and smile, the poet repeats the word smile to mask her feeling of parting from her mother. She also wanted to reassure her mother and herself that everything will be fine. By a continuous smile, she is making an effort to hide her helplessness, anxiety, and fear of losing her mother. So, in the line, smile and smile and smile, the word smile is repeated 3 times. That is repetition. And earlier, we have got another poetic device, that is Polycindaton, which means multiple use of conjunction, as we can see in the line smile and smile and smile, where the conjunction "and" has been used 2 times. So this is repetition. Then another poetic device is imagery, that is the construction of details used to create mental images in the mind of the reader through visual senses as well as the sense of touch, smell, taste or sound. Imagery can mean helping to make an image in the mind, but it can also appeal to other senses. Imagery make use of particular words that create visual representation of ideas in our minds. For example, the trees rustle in rhythm as the wind whistles gently through the leaves. Now here you can see the words rustle and whistle evoke the sense of hearing. We cannot visually see it, but we can sense it. How the trees rustle means how the trees are sounding in the forest. So it transports you to a scene in the middle of a forest. So you can sense the hearing, the sound of the trees. Okay, that is imagery. Now in the poem, images like trees sprinting means trees running, married children coming out of their homes, all these are vivid description suggesting various images. So that is imagery. I hope you understand the poetic devices.